Good morning. For many years of my life, especially when I was in a religious community of women, I often wondered if I was enough for God. If the choices that I made in my life, the example, was I following the stories of the saints? Was I following the example of Christ in the Gospels? What I heard in church about what I should measure up to, was I doing enough? Was I actually enough for God? And this haunts people, sometimes even causes a great fear of dying, the end of our life, that oh my goodness, that means that I no longer have any ability to make sure that I measure up, to make sure that I've done all that I can, that my efforts will bear eternal fruit. It's like, no, give me a few more days, a few more weeks. There's so much fear involved. I mean, truly, it's not like we're given a shopping cart when we're born and we go up and down the aisles of our life, pulling this from the shelves and pulling this from the bins and listening to people in the aisle next to us. And, oh, I'd recommend this because it's really good. And this achieves its purpose if you eat some of those. So that finally, when we get to the checkout at the end of our life, we hope we don't have to make a defense for our choices as God's rooting through our basket, making sure we've got all the right stuff in there so that we can see if, we qualify for eternity with the God who loves us. There's so much anxiety and fear in that. Do I measure up? I've spent my life, you've spent your life, hearing from other people what it means to measure up. This is what God wants. This is what God expects. But have we actually gone to the source? What? Have we asked God? Has God ever told you directly what God wants from you? What God expects from you? Or do we spend our whole lives listening to third parties? I heard that. This is the answer. The golden ticket. The thing that will get us through the pearly gates. And ultimately, really, why do we want the pearly gates if we've never even bothered to ask God, God, what do you want from me? What are your expectations? Am I enough? Think about that list you have in your head, the one that drives you daily, feeling inadequate, wondering if God sees the same. Think about that list and think about how much you've inherited from the words of others. No matter how well-meaning they were, no matter how holy the book was that you read. And then think about, what would God say? Now, it takes a little guts to actually go to God and ask God, please tell me what your expectations are of me. I mean, honestly, if we go back to the fact that you were created by this loving God, you were enough the moment you were born. You were enough. God placed every single beautiful characteristic inside you and has watched some of them grow and some of them atrophy. Those were choices that we made. But ultimately, the raw material, the stuff given at birth, was enough. So as you think about and wonder about this concern, that am I enough for the God who's made creation, who's made all of humanity? Is there enough in me to please this God? Think about sitting next to this God, side by side, and looking over your life, or maybe just looking over the last day and saying, did I do the things here that I could have done? Did I represent the God who loves me so deeply in a world that has such a distorted image of this God? How did I bear that light? And did I bear that light well enough? Thank goodness I have tomorrow. But spend some time and ask God yourself. Listen for God's own words back to you. This is what I want from you. This is what I long for from you. there you are enough.